Good evening. When I get into the car and I turn the ignition on, the music usually comes on at the same time, and it's usually at the same volume that it was at when I last got out of it. Often when I go into my room, one of the first things that I do is put some music on my iPod. Sometimes if I'm sitting in the living room, I might not be watching the TV, but it's on just as background noise. Many of us are not comfortable in silence. We live in a world that's full of noise and distraction. Tomorrow is the feast of St. Joseph, a man of whom there are no words recorded in the Gospel. But Joseph wasn't silent because he'd nothing to say or he didn't know what to say. He was silent because he had an interior silence that allowed him to hear God speak in his life. And through that listening to God, his holiness is obvious to us all. He's faithful to God and does all that God asks of him. So Joseph's silence really is a sign of his living in God's presence. Because he was silent, he could hear the Lord's call in his life. He could hear the Lord call him to take Mary as his wife, even when she was mysteriously pregnant. He heard the Lord call to take his family to Egypt to be safe from King Herod. And knowing what God was asking of him, he was able to respond. Pope Benedict a few years ago challenged us. Let us allow ourselves to be filled with Joseph's silence. In a world that's often too noisy, that encourages neither reflection nor listening to God's voice, we are in such deep need of it. For many of us, the easiest part of our prayer is to speak to God. To be quiet, to not speak, and to listen can be the most difficult part of prayer for a lot of us. Can you find some time tomorrow to be silent in God's presence and just listen to him speak to your heart? Good night. God bless.